Today, we're cracking open one of history's greatest cold cases. But we're not looking for a person. We're looking for a thought. We're going deep inside the minds of our most distant ancestors to try and figure out how they saw the world. So let's just dive right into the heart of it. We know a lot about what early humans did, what they hunted, the tools they made, but this is the question that really gets you, right? What was it actually like inside their heads? Did they feel curiosity the way we do? Did they dream or doubt or plan for the future in a way we'd even recognize? We're going to move beyond just the what and get into the how and the why of their thinking. So, how on earth do we even start to answer a question like that? I mean, we can't exactly hear their thoughts, but it turns out they left behind a trail of cognitive breadcrumbs. And following that trail, well, that's a whole field of science dedicated to solving this very mystery. And that field is called cognitive archaeology. It almost sounds like something out of science fiction, doesn't it? The idea that we can piece together a mind from bits of stone and bone. But this is our investigative toolkit. This is the science that lets us turn physical evidence into a kind of psychological profile. Now this slide right here really clarifies the whole mission. You see, traditional archaeology is amazing for cataloging the actions of the past, the tools, the shelters, the whole shebang. But cognitive archaeology asks a much deeper question. It looks at, say, a perfectly crafted hand axe and asks, okay, but what kind of a brain, what kind of mind was it that could even conceive of and then create this object? We're not just cataloging stuff, we're profiling the minds that made it. Let's get to our first major clue, and it's a big one, the skull itself. Now, you might think a fossilized skull is just this empty, silent thing. But for a scientist who knows what to look for, it's a container that holds the ghost of the brain that once lived inside it. And here's how that works. As a brain grows and develops, it leaves these really faint but readable impressions on the inner surface of the skull. You can think of them like subtle fingerprints. Now, they won't tell us what someone was thinking, but they can give us clues about how the brain's different parts were organized, which areas were maybe getting bigger, and how it was wired. So how do they actually do this? Well, it's this really cool high-tech process. They start with the actual fossil skull, of course. Then they use a CT scanner to make this incredibly detailed 3D map of it. From all that data, they build what's called a virtual endocast, which is basically a digital model of the brain's surface. And that lets them analyze its shape, its size, and this is the crucial part, the proportions of different regions. So they can compare them across thousands, even millions of years of evolution. Okay, so we've looked at the hardware, the brain. Now let's move on to the software, the thoughts themselves. And our next big piece of evidence isn't bone, it's stone. Because stone tools, they are so much more than just primitive objects. They are thoughts, literally given physical form. I just love this quote because it captures the idea so perfectly. Even a simple stone tool is an incredible cognitive artifact. It means someone had to plan, to understand cause and effect, and to imagine a future need and then work backwards to create the tool to solve it. These tools, they're like the fossilized ideas of our ancestors. And as you can see right here on this timeline, there's a really clear progression. We go from simple choppers, which just take a few good whacks, to these beautiful symmetrical hand axes. Now, to make one of those, you need a mental template of the final shape and a multi-step plan. Then way later, you get these specialized, really delicate blades and points, which require super complex, abstract sequences of thought. The tools get more complex because the minds making them were getting more complex. It's a perfect mirror. So, we have skulls, we have tools, but what about the moment our ancestors started thinking beyond just immediate survival? Let's look at the evidence for abstract thought, for ideas that weren't just about the here and now. The control of fire is a fantastic example. We usually think about it in just practical terms, right? For warmth, for cooking, for keeping predators away. But the cognitive impact, it was absolutely revolutionary. It literally rewired how early human minds had to operate. Just think about it. To keep a fire going, you can't just live in the moment. You have to plan ahead. You got to gather fuel, protect the embers. It forces you to cooperate with others. And suddenly, you've got light after dark, a place for people to gather around, to teach each other things, and maybe even tell the very first stories. The brain was adapting to this new rhythm of life that it had created for itself. And then you see this. Engraved bits of ochre, shell beads used as ornaments, cave paintings. These things have zero immediate survival function. They're pure symbols. And this marks a profound turning point.
where the mind isn't just reacting to the world anymore, it's reflecting on it. It's creating meaning and identity and art. This is the dawn of a mind that is truly modern.
So, let's try to bring all these clues together. We've seen the brain structure change, we've seen tools get more and more complex, and we've seen the birth of abstract thought. But what's the final piece of the puzzle here? What is it that truly sets our intelligence apart from all the others? So, the crucial idea seems to be this concept of cognitive layering. Look, other hominids were clearly intelligent and incredibly adaptive, but it seems Homo sapiens added some new layers of cognition right on top. We don't just think, we think about our own thinking. We don't just learn from watching, we actually teach, deliberately. And maybe the most important one of all, we can imagine multiple futures that don't even exist, and then work to make one of them real. And this leads us to what is maybe the most powerful takeaway from this whole investigation. Our incredible intelligence, it isn't just a product of biology locked inside our skulls. It evolved in the spaces between us, through culture, through language, through teaching one another. It's a collective project, built over countless generations. You know, this investigation is far from over. Today, new tools like AI and genetic analysis are adding incredible new detail to the picture. But honestly, beyond all the amazing science, studying our cognitive past has this really profound philosophical outcome. It changes how we see ourselves. Because when we try to solve this ancient cold case, the final clue points right back at us. We see that our minds aren't these finished products. They're the result of a long, messy, and still ongoing experiment. And understanding that asks a very quiet but a very urgent question about our own future. Where are we going with this incredible collective mind of ours? And are we even paying attention to the journey?